Hello and welcome to the Sidekick Stories podcast, encouraging conversations about mental health. Today I'm speaking to Jason Farr. Jason has been a personal trainer for the past 12 years, specializing in corrective exercise and holistic health. Jason, thanks for coming on the show and sharing your experiences and insights with us.
Thank you for having me.
So the goal with this podcast is that the goal with all of these podcasts is that we want to have an open and honest conversation about mental health. And ultimately, we want to get some insight into the tools and techniques that have helped you, but also things that are available for other people to try and to look into and potentially could help them with their mental health. So that's what we try and do with these podcasts.
Sure.
We've been talking about doing one of these for ages because I know that you've got an interest and you've kind of started to get quite a lot of experience in cold water exposure. There's different ways of calling it, right? Cold water therapy.
Yeah, cold water immersion. I mean, it depends whether you want to. Some people just kind of swim in cold water and don't necessarily think of the mental benefits or physical benefits. They just kind of enjoy it. Other people, it's more of a sort of conscious thing. I kind of came. I started just. Sea swimming really, but in a wetsuit. It was more for sort of training to do triathlon stuff. And my swimming was always pretty shocking. So I sort of had a few lessons and then found myself getting sort of quite enjoying the actual swimming, but not being very good. And then and meet some sort of friends and people doing it through the groups from Facebook groups and all the WhatsApp groups.
Had you trained in swimming? So to do triathlons, you must have at least had some skill of swimming, an element of it, I guess. But not to that
only
distance.
Only from what like you would do at primary school. Like I thought I could kind of I can get in a pool and not drown, but that doesn't really count as swimming. So I had some lessons. Sort of like the proper sort of freestyle technique, and sort of realised there was a bit more to it than just kind of waving your arms and kicking. So that was what kind of actually got me into. I mean, the actual, say triathlon, but I mean, there's obviously various distances of triathlon. I've not done, like a full Ironman or whatever, which is, nearly 4 kilometer swims with insane kind of bike rides and then a marathon. But yeah, it was the lessons got me to it, and then I met sort of some few people through the kind of open water side of that, and then we again the other sort of chap that I did a few triathlons with, we were similar sort of standard of swimming, which was pretty rubbish really, but we both enjoyed it, and we could sort of tell that there was something in it from when we were going in the sea with the wetsuits on, kind of in the winter, and sort of thinking, what are we doing? But getting in and sort of feeling good afterwards, maybe sort of shivering a little bit. So it was more. That's when I sort of started to think, well, actually, it's just more about the kind of the immersion in the cold water rather than the swimming and the exercise. And then sort of that was probably about 3 years ago. And then I sort of continued to do the swimming in the sea, and it's only really been the last, this is to be the first kind of year that I'll be swimming in the sea, but without a wetsuit, which is a bit more challenging and a bit, obviously, you feel the cold a lot more. And there seems to be quite a lot of people doing it. I don't, obviously, being in the lockdown, there being not a lot else to do, and being the pools being closed, that's probably a factor. But I don't think it's just a fad thing that's. I think people seem to be doing it, realizing the benefits of it, and then continuing it in some form. Maybe not necessarily going to extremes of swimming in the Arctic or whatever, but I think people are
challenging themselves with
yeah
cold water a bit. Yeah, because
I think it's that.
I think I'd heard of it from speaking to you, but also somebody mentioned to me that he'd read an interview with a sort of successful businessman or something that said that every morning every morning and afternoon he has an ice cold shower to almost like kind of wake his brain up, but also try and retain information that he'd learned that day or something like that. And this was just sort of a brief conversation, but that was the first time I thought, okay, this is actually a thing. And then through speaking to you about it and doing a little bit of reading on it, what are the benefits that you kind of knew of? Did you so you were doing your swimming, then you started to think, actually, it's the immersion stuff and the temperature side that is having an effect, or is what you're interested in. What benefits did you kind of read up on, and did you notice any of the benefits in yourself?
I suppose when I first doing it, it wasn't really like I sort of enjoyed it, but I wasn't necessarily conscious of any kind of real benefits of. I suppose I was a bit more had maybe a sort of a greater tolerance to the cold, I suppose. Like, so in the winter I wasn't getting as cold. I suppose I remember one of the guys, friend Ryan, who I'd met, who was sort of like, have you sort of noticed that people have been ill, generally the time of year that people start to get flus and stuff, colds, and he was sort of like, have you noticed that we haven't had that, or just feeling generally kind of stronger, or immune system's better, not getting as many illnesses, things like that. And I was like, I suppose hadn't really noticed it until that point. And then when you sort of start becoming conscious of it, that's when you start then thinking, well, actually I've got a bit of a runny nose now, I've got a bit of a sore throat or whatever. But there's the kind of psychological stuff. But I'm feeling that now more so since I've been consciously doing the actual cold water immersions, which has probably been the last couple of months, where I've been going every day, be it in the sea, be it in basically I've got like a bin that I've just filled with water, so it's kind of a makeshift kind of plunge pool. So as I have been making sure I am in cold water every day for I don't know, somewhere between 5-10 minutes, maybe 20 minutes if it's in the sea and I'm swimming, not just sitting in a bin. But
that's the less glamorous sort of adventurous version.
The kind of that's a bit more, that's purely immersion, obviously not getting too much fun out of it, although saying that you do kind of go into a bit of a I'd say meditative state, but you can sort of focus on your breathing and just kind of sit there and just be, as it were, which you don't necessarily get the time to do, as you know, with a young one running around and various things. So it's last night it was at 10:30, and I thought I'm going to get in the bin. So I did. Got into my trunks and sat in, and it was quite cold, but I think I'm getting a bit more used to it now, and I'm getting a bit. I wouldn't say it's. I suppose it's easier. It's more the actual response of getting in. It sort of takes your breath away a little bit, but
do you learn how to deal with that? Because all I can relate it to is when you're walking into the sea or a swimming pool or something on holiday, and that first plunge or the first sort of dip underwater is a challenge. Do you learn to figure out how to deal with that? Do you just sort of tense up and that just gets easier and easier and easier?
I mean, the thought of it is still is like a bit like, oh God, I don't, I think the anticipation is probably the worst bit, but when you actually get in, like when I get in the sea or in the bin, so
What kind of bins? Just so people can picture it, what kind of bin is it?
like a massive wheelie bin.
Massive
Not
wheelie?
a massive, not the really big ones, but like, the kind of
Like an
the
industrial
normal
waste bin, like that you'd find out the back of a supermarket.
not that big. The kind of the plastic ones that.
Oh, like like you have outside your house, but you put your
like those ones, just probably
okay.
slightly bit deeper. But yeah, getting in. But I think the actual once you get in and you sort of, I think tensing up is the worst thing. You actually have to kind of try and relax, just deep breathe through it, and then kind of almost let the cold kind of take hold as it were, and you just kind of and I think the first minute you kind of like, what am I doing? But then after that you sort of breathe through it, get out, and you do feel good. You get this sort of I guess the endorphins flowing. You've got there's various chemicals in your brain that kind of start working. I think I don't know the exact sort of science.
Something happens, even from the whole sort of dipping yourself in the pool or the sea thing. It's like it's kind of exciting and makes you laugh, or it's sort of, there's something that it does to you, a reaction that it has with your body that I can imagine actually is once you learn to not fear it, and once it becomes like part of your routine, imagine that's quite like gets your adrenaline going.
Yeah, it's sort of empowering, and you're willingly taking yourself out of your comfort zone, and you're putting like an environmental stress on your body, which we all kind of live in comfort. We live in heated houses, and we're kind of all kept at the same temperature, and we don't generally like going out in the cold in the winter and whatever. So it's basically like, you have to sort of view it like you would view exercise, that you feel good after you've done it. You don't necessarily want to do it, but like after like going on a run, you feel really good, get the endorphins flowing, and you feel just good feeling. The blood's flowing around your body, getting all the nutrients and whatever around to the muscles.
Can you and as a PT, can you see the similarities of what it does compared to something like going for a run? I know they're completely different types of activity, but like, can you see any comparison between sort of certain exercises and cold water immersion?
Comparisons as in, I mean, with the benefits, I mean, you get the same kind of, benefits, probably like increased energy, better circulation, all those kind of things, probably similar.
Yeah.
It's just obviously the first time you do it, it is different, and you don't want to do it, or even just not necessarily going in the sea, but say just having a quick cold shower, everything when you go to turn the knob down to cold, there's going to be a lot of resistance. Your brain's going to be going, no, don't do it. Like, what? You're probably thinking, no, I don't really want to do this, but you do it. You kind of you obviously will gasp and it will take your breath away, but I think you get used to that response, and it gives the skin. The skin is the biggest organ in the body, right? And so that's getting a good workout. You're training all the little muscles in your capillaries and veins, which again, as Wim Hof says, is I don't know the exact amount of the exact figure, but it's something around about 70,000 miles worth of veins and capillaries inside your body, right? Which is, does it go around the world twice or something like that? in one person's body, so that every little muscle that, you know, opens valves and whatever to let blood in and out gets a workout when you expose it to the cold.
Yeah.
So I think that's again something that's important for us to, not necessarily important, but just going into the cold is quite a simple thing. Not necessarily easy to do for some people if you hate the cold, but it's not like a new complex thing. It's something that we have been doing probably since the beginning of time, going into cold water, being exposed to the cold water, whether it's to hunt or fish or wash or whatever. It's so, yeah, I think there is something there. I think we'll see a lot more people doing it, talking about it, and just to
it's actually, and it's something that everybody can do. It's not expensive. You can do it in your shower or bath or whatever at home. And actually, the probably, it's just thinking as you were talking, the most mainstream like version of it was probably that ice bucket challenge. That just sort of took over everything, and without people even thinking about it. Actually, that was like a really quick cold water experience that was like was almost an entertainment, and it was the challenge, wasn't it? And I guess all of this, whether you're doing it in the sea or the shower or being in your garden or whatever, it's like challenging yourself to do something. And whether that's exercise or whatever other challenges people are doing, if you're taking on a challenge and you're doing it, that's got to be good for your morale and your mental health, I guess, ultimately.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's where the mindset kind of discipline bit comes into it as well, because you are, like I say, taking yourself out of your comfort zone, and it's weirdly kind of, again, speaking from my own personal experience, it's sort of weirdly addictive. I guess, you know, some people, obviously people do become addicted to exercise, or maybe it's addicted to the feeling that you get afterwards. Not entirely sure on that one, but there is, and it's doing it with other people. Obviously at the moment it's difficult to do that, but even just going with someone else makes it, I don't know if it enhances the experience, or more of it just kind of makes it probably easier to go in if you know someone else is doing it as well. And especially again in the current situation that's going on, it's I think it's important for mental health and to be getting out of the house and getting some natural sunlight and natural kind of stimulus from the environment, and just kind of embracing the cold, basically.
So it's part of your, so now it's kind of part of your daily routine. Is where do you take it from there? So like you've progressed from initially wearing wetsuits in the sea to I'm guessing now, as well as not wearing a wetsuit in the sea, you don't wear a wetsuit when you do it at home either. So like where do you how can you progress, or do you just do it more? Do you progress to twice a day, or?
Well, I mean, it depends what you want to get out of it, really, because if I was going for a longer swim in the sea, or more of a swim that was sort of more focused on distance, then I probably would have to wear a wetsuit at the moment anyway. Because I mean, you still would eventually get cold, but the wetsuit just obviously keeps your core temperature, stops your core temperature from dropping, and it kind of would insulate you a bit more from the cold, but you still will feel the cold eventually. And I suppose it really depends what I'm looking to get out of it. I suppose just a bit more seeing it. I suppose it's challenging yourself, seeing how far you can go with it. Not that I'm gonna be attempting to kind of break any world records like Wim Hof of sitting in a bath full of ice for nearly 2 hours, but I'll probably look to try and get the water. I mean, the water naturally will be getting colder anyway into the winter, and then I'll just kind of see. Really, I mean, I've never really been someone that I know of that suffers from any kind of mental health issues, but I think I've definitely seen benefits from this as sleeping, maybe sort of better quality sleep, or just maybe deeper sleep, increased energy, anything else, but
all of that
reduce
helps your mental
stress.
health. Yeah. Even if, like you were saying, it's taking you away from being a parent for 10 minutes, like like you've got a child, like kids are stressful. You've got a wives can be stressful. Hopefully she doesn't listen to this, but like life as an adult, as a husband and a dad and things are stressful, so sometimes you need an escape, something to kind of help your mental health, even if you don't necessarily think, oh, I'm suffering from any kind of mental health issue. I think sometimes it's good to have something that can kind of be your escape, and this sounds like a good one because it's 10 minutes away on your own, thinking, focusing on your breathing. And I know we're going to talk about breathing exercises, but it's like a few different things kind of combined in one almost.
I think there is again there's I mean, it depends on what you be trying to get out of it, but I think no matter what background you're from, if you're kind of like a looking to improve your sports performance, I think that can be you can have faster recovery through people, the sports stars that have ice baths after tennis players or whatever, or I think any elite sports players sort of sit in ice baths afterwards for sort of recovery. I think that just reduces the inflammation and allows muscles to recover faster. I think generally it will lower your heart rate. You're getting a good sort of, not like I suppose you are getting a cardiovascular workout from the maybe more an ice bath, I suppose. But as long I'm not really sure how cold you have to go really to kind of see kind of benefits. I think some people have said anything below say 15 degrees Celsius.
That's what I read actually. Because when I was reading up on it earlier, the sort of description of cold water exposure or cold water therapy it's a practice of using water that's around 15 degrees Celsius. So, but like, have you measured the temperature of when you do the baths at home? I guess you can't measure the sea temperature, or can you? Have you got apps and things?
Well, we've got. I've actually just used like just a duck, like a bath thermometer for babies, but just that. I don't know
how cold do you
go. Well, the coldest I've been is about at home that I've measured is about maybe 7 degrees. The sea so far this year hasn't been below 10 degrees, according to my duck. But again, the most kind of local Facebook open water group, they're always sort of posting in there that everyone seems to get different temperature readings, but it's around roughly sort of at the moment between 10 to 12 degrees, which is pretty cold to get into. I'm not sure about getting into like ice baths just yet, and I'd need some sort of ice machine and that would make a lot of ice. But
maybe that's how you can step up the bin version, is to add a bag of ice to it, and I guess that would drop the temperature. So I'd need tap from the outside. You just do water from the outside tap?
Yeah, water from the outside tap. Just kind of left it in there. I probably need to change it actually, but yeah, change it sort of once a week. And again, it's that I still sort of, I won't go into tonight because I went for a swim earlier today, but the feeling of when I know that I'm about to go in, it's like it's sort of like a nervous, horrible feeling of, well, I don't really want to, but I know I'm going to, and I'm going to feel better. I get the same sort of thing that you get, resistance of you think, oh, I don't really want to go to the gym, I don't want to go for a run, but you feel better after it. I mean, you do, but with the getting in the sea swims more so, there's something called after drop, which is basically when you get out, say within 20 minutes, you start to sort of feel, to the point where you think, oh, when you're swimming, you're not really thinking about it, you don't feel that cold, and then you when you get out, you feel okay, but then after about 10 minutes, you really start to get the shivers. You just shake quite a lot where your body's warming up. Well, the cold blood from your extremities starts to recirculate with the warm blood from your core. So then you start to shake quite violently, as I did today. But it lasts about 10 minutes. You kind of breathe through it, and then you sort of feel good. But that's
is that part of the experience that's actually grow
so
to?
far, I believe it is. I mean, Wim Hof talks about being able to sort of control that kind of feeling. I suppose the same way that he talks about saying, like, you would stop yourself from sneezing and that kind of thing. But so I guess he has kind of got more control over his autonomic nervous system, supposedly, anyway. Wim Hof, leading on to Wim Hof.
Yeah, let's talk Wim Hof. Apart from having the best name ever, he's also got a pretty cool nickname, the Iceman.
It is a good name, the Iceman, yeah.
He's a Dutch extreme athlete. So this is my pre-research.
Go on.
Extreme athlete who is known for his ability to withstand freezing temperatures, and he's broken a whole bunch of Guinness records. He's hardcore into the cold. Not even just the cold, the freezing.
The freezing, there's a lot of people now that kind of follow him, and he's got his own kind of, I guess, community of people, and it's pretty hard to not come across his name when you start delving into kind of cold water immersion and the benefits. And so I read his book recently, or listened to his book on Audible, and he's quite an interesting guy. A bit of some would say he's a bit of a nutter, a bit of a sort of freak of nature as such, but he maintains that anybody can do what he's done with the right mindset, cold exposure, and breathing exercises being his kind of three main pillars of the Wim Hof method. So I've sort of tried some of, obviously doing the cold exposure, then the breathing exercises is one that he does. It's quite a sort of simple one. I think we spoke about it before, when you said it was like, I think you spoke about tenet, what they do in tenet when they hold their breath going into that
to train
chamber. So this, I think, with freedivers again would do something like this to kind of again, it's about training your you're kind of overloading your system with oxygen, and then
I remember. Yeah, you told me about this. You told me about this recently, right? So you kind of breathe in a lot initially to
so basically would hyperventilate kind of thing, like deep breaths for sort of 30 or 40 breaths, and then on the last one you breathe out, and then you just hold your breath, or you stop breathing basically until you feel you need to, and it's quite sort of surprising how long you can go, and also the feeling that sort of euphoric feeling you then get when you breathe back in and hold your breath. And that's what sort of Wim Hof uses to kind of train his disciples, as it were, or people that he's taken on up to Mount Kilimanjaro, and he's done. So he basically trained a load of people that had no kind of experience in climbing mountains or anything like that, and then he took them up to Kilimanjaro by training them with these breathing exercises and cold exposure. I think he trained them for something like, I think he said initially he needed 10 days, and I think he did it after 4 days, said they were ready. Again, he was someone that's always trying to sort of push the limits of people. So the breathing exercise, I think he would basically would do that they'd lie down or sit down, breathe in like 30 or 40 times, hold their breath, and you do that for an hour, and that supposedly kind of gets more oxygen into the brain, gets your body kind of being able to cope without having oxygen. So I guess that's how they dealt with going at high altitude, and not kind of getting, I think some of them did get the altitude sickness or the acute mountain sickness. But so that the breathing exercises being sort of one of the main parts of his method. So I haven't been doing those as much recently, but when you make time to do that, it's only sort of 15-20 minutes or so of just doing that. You can do that through either the app, or you can just, you don't need an app, you can just sit down and breathe. But I do find a couple of times I think I was forcing the exhale, or forcing the breathe out part too much, and there's something called tetany, which is like where pushing the carbon dioxide out of your body. I was finding my hands were kind of going like that. So I was lying down thinking, I can't actually move my hands right now, it feels a bit weird, and you can feel lightheaded. Apparently lightheaded is fairly normal. So it does kind of emphasize that you should breathe in deeply and just let it go rather than forcing it out, which obviously I didn't know.
That sounds like an extreme. I guess, my knowledge of breathing exercises is people obviously, I guess they do it to handle stress, or to sort of de-stress and handle anxiety and things like that. But actually, do you think that one is more of a training your body sort of for endurance almost? Do you find that it helps you de-stress, maybe because you're having to just focus on your breath, which has that sort of...
Yeah, there is that. I tend to sort of zone out a bit when I do it, which I don't know if that's, again, part of the my body not being used to kind of not dealing without having oxygen. So I don't know, and I think there is that is quite a common symptom. I think that you start to not hallucinate, but almost zone out, and people have been known to sort of faint. So you just sort of say not to do the breathing exercise in water or while you're driving or anything like that. But no, I sort of I don't really. I thought I'd try them, but it wasn't really. I feel good after doing them, but there wasn't really any like. I suppose it probably lowered my heart rate. So, but then it also kind of, because I think he does them in the morning. He says, that people generally talk about doing it as they get up and do it sort of straight away before you've eaten, and apparently that you get more sort of benefit if you haven't eaten. But yeah, I've tried sort of doing it. I tried doing it in the morning, tried doing it at night. It didn't. Yeah, I didn't sort of feel like overly kind of like, yeah, this is amazing. I'm glad I'm doing it. But yeah, you do feel good after doing it. I wouldn't sort of. Yeah, it's quite sort of simple. You don't have to kind of, doesn't have to be over complicated. You got some people kind of time, and want to sort of see there's progression. So you time your retention time, which is how long you can hold your breath for. It naturally gets longer. I think by the third or fourth time, I was going to nearly 3 minutes without breathing, and we're not even really being that aware of it. But also by that time as well, I'd start to sort of sometimes be like, I can't remember even if I need to breathe in or do I, it's a weird sort of feeling, almost like not a hallucinating sort of feeling, but it's an odd feeling. So definitely make sure you're sort of sitting down or lying down if you do try them.
And with someone around, I guess, for if you're going to try it first, for the first time, have somebody there. It sounds more extreme and scary than it is, but it's challenging your body, I guess, isn't it?
Yeah, kind of. It is. Again, it's so simple because we all breathe, but we don't necessarily consciously breathe. So this is just kind of adding a sort of a more, it's something that we can all do. Everyone could sit down and do this sort of exercise. It's not like normal exercise where you say I'll go out for a run. You go, well, I can't run. My knees hurt, or I'm overweight, or whatever. So everyone can do this, which again is the good thing, and it's a simple thing. He does, he's sort of said that there's more but not more benefit, but doing it in a group would potentially, don't know if it again enhances the experience, but there's sort of clips of him doing it with room full of people and all sorts of kind of odd responses. There's one woman who just was laughing on the retention part, so she would hold her breath and just start laughing and didn't really know why. I don't even know if she was conscious that she was laughing. There was someone else, I think it was someone else who started crying, and he was explaining it as all these emotions that are being let out. I guess that's getting a bit more kind of spiritual now, but I don't know whether there's anything in that. Not really sure. Just try it yourself, I suppose, and see.
It's interesting. It does, I suppose, compared to some of the more well-known breathing exercises that are almost maybe to sort of give you a chance to focus on your own thoughts and your own breath and things like that. It's which I guess this is doing, but actually it's doing it. Is the idea that actually then you'd use that new skill of being able to hold your breath longer, you'd use that with the cold water immersion? You'd sort of use the breathing exercises and that as a combination?
I'm not really sure. I think it definitely, I find when I get into the cold water, you do find yourself just breathing deeper. I think again that's not something that you consciously do. It's just something that happens automatically, and there must be a reason for that. And maybe and he always says that when you breathe deep, you're reducing the acidity or making your body more alkaline. Again, I'm not really sure what the benefits of that, but supposedly it's better if you're in a more alkaline state. So but I'm not just so the actual cold water and the breathing. I think they're just sort of things that you can do to kind of reduce your sort of depression. If you're breathing deeper, in theory you're getting more kind of oxygen into your deeper parts of the brain through the breathing exercises. if you're doing the same as coupled with the cold water exposure, you're getting your skin's getting a workout. You're getting this blood flow from the extremities. Going to, I think you've got better circulation, which probably means more nutrients are getting into sort of deeper parts of your brain. Maybe I think that's so. I think it can definitely help with depression, anxiety. There's a list here of the sort of diseases or autoimmune conditions that have been what Wim Hof claims that. So depression, anxiety, rheumatoid arthritis, Crohn's disease, eczema, psoriasis, which are all kind of, these ones are all autoimmune diseases. Parkinson's, Lyme's disease, even things like dementia and cancer. He would claim, I think there are people that claim that they can either reversed their conditions or symptoms, or at least can now kind of manage their conditions just by using the cold water. Which, I mean, it's, I don't know, it sounds, I don't know if it sounds crazy or not really, but it's sort of a simple solution, certainly. I think you have to have to kind of obviously believe that can help.
I guess it's about improving if it improves your morale and your mindset, and that can help you deal with things that you're going through and illnesses and aches and pains and things, I guess. Like I was reading up on cold water exposure in general, and they said they kind of said that there's not very much scientific proof yet, but the benefits that people have reported are things like improved circulation, deeper sleep, like you were saying, a spike in energy levels, reduces inflammation in your body. And then actually researchers did find that a program of short, twice daily cold showers has been known to decrease depressive symptoms. So 2 times a day having a cold shower has been proven to have some kind of effect to people's mood and people's morale. So I think there's a lot of cases and I guess a lot of proof out there that people are benefiting from it. If there's loads of people doing it and there's Facebook groups of people sharing tips, and it's obviously having some kind of impact.
I think I think that's it. Mainly just through people talking about it and people sharing their own experiences, and then people kind of go, well, I'll give it a go. The actual science, I think, like I say, is limited. They did quite a lot of experiments on Wim Hof, but I guess there's probably maybe a lack of people that are putting their hand up to sitting in ice baths with rectal thermometers or whatever they would use to kind of monitor. But like you say, I think increased energy, better sleep is my list of things. I mean, there's improves sports performance, faster recovery. That's, I suppose, for the more kind of sports minded sort of people. But generally, reduce stress levels, greater cold tolerance, enhanced creativity. I found. I mean, I suppose that would make sense if you're getting more blood flow to the brain. But there was something about dementia as well. There was something quite recently. There was I can't remember what paper it was in. I think it might have been on the BBC as well, that they were saying that cold water swimmers had more. There's something about like a cold shock protein or something. They had greater levels of that, which had been shown to kind of like prevent dementia, but it was better brain health, things like that, which I guess would make sense. But some people will probably not necessarily believe it until the science says so. I think it's about just taking yourself out of your comfort zone, taking control of your own health. If you do feel like, you know, you've tried everything and nothing's worked, then, you know, we've got to lose from taking a cold shower, you say once or twice a day, or just turning the dial down a little bit and starting that way and just getting it gradually colder and colder, or just think today I'm just going to go as cold as I can go for 10 seconds, and building from there. And it's probably not going to be like an overnight thing of, oh my God, I'm not depressed anymore, or I've cured my arthritis. But I think if you apply everything, you know, not necessarily all of the Wim Hof method things, but doing it for a sort of a substantial period of time, I think most people feel some sort of benefit from it, whether it is just better sleep or something, but it's all going to contribute to mental health.
Yeah, even if it's just the simplicity of breaking your routine a little bit of, okay, if you wake up and have a hot shower every day, all of a sudden giving yourself 20 seconds of freezing cold is going to switch things up a bit, and it's going to make you start your day slightly differently to what you always do. I mean, I remember that this summer felt really hot, and so I was just having more sort of warm, cold showers, and I did actually quite like it. Like, I quite looked forward to sort of mid-afternoon when it was like peak heat, just having a cold shower and coming out and feeling cold for a bit, and just not being hot and sweaty, and actually probably that without me even really thinking about it, I was sort of dabbling with cold water exposure, and just because of the heat. But actually, it was probably having a bigger effect on my mood than I thought.
Yeah, there's something, you know, your body was obviously telling you wanted to be cold. Maybe, I mean, I'm not very good in the heat, and I think there was a time in the summer where I was like, oh God, I can't wait for it to get cold, which is like, you know, it's a terrible thing to do, to wish the summer and the nice weather away. But whereas, I don't know, I'm not sure whether this is, you know, coming back around to summer, whether that's going to make me more kind of intolerant to the heat or not. Hopefully not. I mean, I guess that's why people have saunas and things like that. But I know that's supposed to be like a good for your skin to sort of sweat out and sort of detox. But I think there must be something in that of like the same thing of getting in a cold shower or a cold bath for 10 minutes, going in a sauna for 10 minutes as well. I think maybe could help with tolerance to the heat, and then having that environmental stressor from heat and cold, I think is definitely a good thing, and something that maybe is overlooked in sort of medicine and natural remedies.
Yeah,
but who knows?
So one of the other things we were going to talk about, and is this one of Wim Hof's things, or is this just something that you've started to sort of do more into, is mindset and commitment? Is that part of Wim Hof's sort of pillars?
Yeah, that's one of the so he's 3 pillars there. I think is mindset. It's just mindset, commitment.
Breathing, cold therapy, and it's kind of hard for me to say. Breathing, cold therapy, and commitment. Yeah, that's the pillars.
Yeah. So I guess that's having the right right mindset to it. I guess it's determination and saying, you know, we'll do this, we'll get in my ice bath or whatever, and also kind of, I suppose, in a way, having the right mindset of, I'm going to do this. Not I'm going to try it. I'm going to have one ice bath and see how I feel. I'm always going to commit to doing it. I suppose that maybe that's part of it. And also just if you're, he talks about kind of being able to sort of sit in an ice bath and almost kind of visualize like a fire in his belly to sort of keep him warm. And whether anyone can do that, or whether you sort of go, sounds like a load of bollocks, really. But I think there's a certain amount of mindset. You have to be obviously sort of focused if you're going to do something. It's some people are a bit kind of like, oh well, I'll give it a go, and that's probably not the right. People would say that's not the right mindset. So, but yeah, when it comes to sort of applying the kind of the Wim Hof method, I think the breathing exercises are a bit more like, well, this is what the breathing exercises are, and this is what the cold immersion is, whereas the kind of mindset, discipline, commitment side of it, that might be more for him to kind of explain if you were wanting to become a Wim Hof practitioner, or probably do one of his actual courses online, which I know some people are. Maybe he could explain more about that. But I mean, there's another book that I read, which is called What Doesn't Kill Us, which was by a guy called Scott Carney, who was basically a journalist who was sort of sent. He didn't know anything about Wim Hof, but was kind of sent to see Wim Hof to kind of almost expose him for another one of these fake gurus. And he ended up kind of throwing himself into the method and kind of really sort of seeing something and joining. I think he was one of the guys that he went up Mount Kilimanjaro with him. And yeah, and he's sort of, and I think he's got another book out that's only just come out, which is again sort of based on almost his interpretation of the Wim Hof method. But it's quite an interesting book. Talks quite a lot about the kind of inception of like Tough Mudders and all those kind of races, which are like people want to almost punish themselves, and people want to suffer because, well, I guess the same sort of thing as like running a marathon or doing any kind of extreme feat, I suppose, to challenge yourself for one, and also I don't we maybe have this kind of innate kind of urge to do things that maybe we think we can't do, or that might not necessarily kill us, because nobody wants to do it and die, but I guess maybe you feel that you make yourself a better person for doing it, or become stronger for putting yourself through that.
You've achieved something.
Yeah, that's an interesting read. And again, he kind of goes through various. By the end of the book, he's kind of, well, I wouldn't say he's turns on Wim Hof, but he's sort of like goes through phases where you kind of like think, like, this guy's amazing, this guy's a bit of a prophet, someone to sort of follow and whatever. And then there's other times where he's just thinking he's just a bit of a mad Dutchman who doesn't really sort of care about anyone. He's just a bit of a sort of egotistical maniac. But you sort of take from it what you, like anything, you take from it the best bits and what you kind of identify with, and hopefully you can apply that to your own approach in life and get something good from it. And yeah, I'm feeling good from doing the cold water thing. I'm not sure whether it's just like, if I will kind of go further with it and see how far I can challenge myself. I don't think I'm going to be setting any records or swimming in the Arctic or anything, but it's something that, as you say, just at this particular time gets you out of the house. And something to sort of focus on and kind of free your mind.
Maybe it's something that actually you don't need to keep going further with it, maybe actually it's just maintaining it as a routine,
Yeah,
which
I
you
guess that depends on your own, each person's sort of own personality. Really, if they sort of, I mean, these things tend to the natural sort of progression. But I suppose, yeah, it depends if you're the sort of person who's like wants to keep pushing yourself and challenging yourself and whatever. But I think for now it's just going to be something I do because I do feel good basically for doing it, and yeah, definitely notice the energy levels. That's probably the biggest thing. Energy levels aren't kind of dropping in the afternoon, or like I'm not feeling like I need like an afternoon nap. I mean, I sometimes do have an afternoon nap, but
are living
don't
the
necessarily.
dream.
Well, I mean, yeah, to be fair, I probably don't. I mean, it's only if obviously Murphy's not here, but yeah, it's something that I don't generally feel like I need to have. Maybe I suppose about a year ago when obviously Billy was working and actually going into work.
Yeah.
Like I'd almost kind of plan my days around a nap. Sort of come home from work and think, I've got a couple of hours, I'll have a nap. Whereas I suppose now it's a different routine, her being here, but generally I don't feel like, I just feel kind of quite necessarily full of energy, but I think my energy levels are steady sort of throughout the day now. I suppose I would recommend it to people. Just probably start with a cold shower.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. So anybody listening, if they want to try, they want to get involved with cold water exposure, cold water immersion, or whatever you want to call it, I guess the sort of entry level test is the cold shower side. If people want to go further with it, or they even want to just read up on it beforehand, would you say like the Wim Hof website or books is a good place to start?
Yeah, I mean, there's loads of podcasts with him on it. I mean, there's the one, I think it was on Good Morning. Good Morning, This Morning. What's it called? Yeah, This Morning. With Phil and Holly, like a couple of months ago. I think he's been on there a couple of times now. There's loads of stuff on him. I actually, in a way, the cold water immersion thing. I mean, I find it easier to get in the sea or kind of actually immerse yourself rather than standing under a shower where it's too kind of easy to just jump out the way or to scream and turn it off. So I think it's easy to just get, if you get getting into this bin thing and you kind of once you're in, you're kind of in a way. It's much harder to kind of get out once you're fully submerged than just step out the way of a shower.
Do you go under, or do you just go up to your neck?
I generally just go up to my neck, but sometimes if I'm feeling adventurous, I'll just dunk my head under for a bit. Again, there's some studies or some people will say, just going up to the neck's fine. Other people say that you have to submerge yourself to get the full benefit of it. I don't really know. It's all kind of down to personal preference, really. But yeah, so I actually would say if you have like a bin or maybe some sort of bath, I suppose you could fill a bath up and get in that.
Paddling pool.
Yeah.
Large bucket.
He does it on the Wim Hof app. There's a video of him just getting into like a barrel, filled it with ice and gets in that. Just kind of crouches down into that. So, but I think generally, not everyone has a big bin that they could sort of fill up and get into. Maybe not one that's sort of clean enough. I literally bought this just to get in it.
Where do you buy a bin? I just
got it on eBay. I just looked up big wheelie bin. I think it was like maybe 300 60-litre bin or something. But
Your grass must be well watered. The amount of used bin water that you're pouring.
That's the trouble. It is difficult to empty because it's quite heavy, so I have to kind of like
Take a run up.
We'll scoop bits out first because I don't think I could sort of tip it up at the moment. But yeah, the grass is in quite good condition. Yeah, but I think cold showers is probably an easier. It's not easier, but something that everyone can do.
Yeah.
Or at least try.
And then progress to a bath.
Progress to a bath, or to if you've got any kind of lake nearby, or something that you could just go and quickly dunk yourself into, or if you live near the sea, there's so there's at the moment there's a lot of people just driving to along the seafront today to go to Chalkwell. There was pockets of sort of people that were kind of just jumping in, a few kind of people that were clearly serious swimmers, but there was more people that were just getting in, immersing themselves. They had woolly hats on, so they obviously had no intention of getting their heads under. And it's more so than ever at the moment. And hopefully it's something that will probably be more and more popular, or maybe it's just because of lockdown, people losing their minds maybe. But
people must be hearing about it somewhere though, because it's not dawned on me to do that. Like, but
you don't really live near a body of water, do you?
I guess, maybe if you live in an area near the sea, maybe you just get used to swimming in it when the weather's good, and because you're bored, you think, oh, okay, I'll go in.
I suppose if you drive past and see people doing it, you think, oh, they're doing it, why can't I? Or that looks fun. Or I don't know, so that being said, have you got any inclination yourself to get into a bin full of water or have a cold shower?
I was just thinking, and I am, and that's why I wanted to talk on this podcast, because I am intrigued by it, and I am constantly looking for new things to try, to I guess just break the routine a little bit and get some, try and help stress and lockdown and work and parenting and things like that are stressful. So it's always nice to try and find something. Same with the breathing exercises. I'd like to dabble with some of that, and it's just making yourself find that time to do it. And but maybe, I mean, I know a guy with a bin now, so maybe next time come and change the water first though, because you said you don't change it for a week, which
you're not drinking it, I mean, just
bathe in it,
get in.
Submerge in it. No, I am intrigued. It's getting past that fear, I think, because even the thought of I could just about handle the cold shower, but the thought of filling the bath with cold water and getting in it almost like makes you shudder. But I guess it's that facing that fear of doing it and doing it a few times where you actually see the benefit of it and you think, oh, I'm quite looking forward to that later. Or it's 10:30 at night, I'm gonna go and do it. It's I'm intrigued by that. It's a little bit different to the norm of going for a walk or meditation and things like that. It's something a bit more extreme and a bit more challenging, I think.
In that sense, though, it could be, if you think, oh, I haven't done any exercise this week, or I haven't got that much. You say you've only got half an hour, and you think, oh, I haven't got time to get ready and go for a run. I could just have a cold shower for 2-3 minutes, and not necessarily get the same benefits of a run, but probably similar sort of benefits. And you've done something different. You've taken yourself out of your comfort zone. So there's that sort of mindset thing that you've overcome something that you didn't want to do, and you've done it.
Yeah.
So I think that can sort of, again, help with your mindset and help with kind of, positivity and general sort of kind of believing in yourself and all that kind of stuff. So for me, I mean, having that, a bin full of water that's freezing cold, I could sort of think, oh, well, I've only got half an hour, I haven't got time to go for a run or do some weights or anything. I'll just dunk myself in that for 5-10 minutes or whatever. And if you're going to at least feel good after it, then that's something.
And do you actually find that knowing that it's there, knowing the bin is there, if you're feeling stressed or anxious or whatever, does it help knowing that it's there? And actually, do you use that as a sort of treatment for that? Like, oh, I'm peed off about something. I'm going to go and dunk myself. And then...
I don't think. I mean, I don't really get that kind of peed off or annoyed about stuff. But I think, there is that kind of aspect that I sort of think if I've had like a stressful day or something stressful happened, I think, well, not that I think, oh, it'll be all right, I'm sitting in the bin tonight. But I think that there is an aspect of like when you're sitting in there and just kind of, you don't really have not have time, but your mind is sort of drawn away from those worries because you're sitting in a bin thinking that I'm quite cold, so you need to kind of, and that's again something that Hof said on one of his podcasts. It was like, the cold says, shut up and sort your breathing out and regulate your body temperature now, or you're going to die. Obviously not in the bin, but in sort of extreme kind of ice cold temperatures, you do have to just kind of focus on staying alive, and you're probably not thinking about that argument I had or whatever. So maybe whether that's a tool that can help, I think it is a useful tool to sort of have as, whether it's enhancing your recovery or sleeping better, increase energy. It's something that I know is there, and I will continue to use.
Yeah, well, thank you for coming on and talking about this. It's been really interesting. It's been really interesting for me, and I think it's going to be interesting for people that have never even heard of the idea. Everybody knows about having cold showers and things, but nobody knows. Not everybody knows that it's the theories behind it and the benefits. I hopefully people are going to find it really interesting. So thank you to everyone for listening. You can subscribe to this podcast on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. Just search Sidekick Community or Sidekick Stories and we'll pop up. And please do give us a rating on Apple Podcasts if you enjoy the show. So Jay, thank you for coming on, and we'll speak to you again soon.
Thank you very much.
Cheers.